Hello, my name is Murder, and I've got a quick base redesign here for you. So I'm going to show you a quick clip. It's about a minute and a half long, and after that clip is finished playing, I'm going to talk about why I made the decisions I did when it came to designing this map. I'm not a dev, and this map is not going to be in the game, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess. Depends on if you think it's a good map or it's a bad map. But we'll get into that in a minute. For now, enjoy. Alright, welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed that quick little video there. Now before I break into all of the changes that I've done, let me just give you a word of warning. This is not a scripted video, and I have given up on writing a script, and I'm just going to go off the top of my head. So I apologize if I get a bit rambly and kind of go off topic a little bit, but I'll try to keep it as brief and concise as I possibly can. Now, I'm going to start with, well, the big thing, which is the big old dome shield we got here. Now, this dome shield is a concept. It is obviously, though, a concept that has been in the game, if you've been around for a long time, multiple times. This concept has shown its face a few times. Back in 2013, I believe it was shown originally. Even as early back, I think it's 2012, I actually had a concept as well. And none of them have ever made it to live. My only guess is performance. And that is the only reason it hasn't been pushed to live. However, now they've got construction shields or sky shields that construction can place down, a bubble shield that construction also have, and they also have the citadel shield, which outfits can now deploy as well. So I don't see any reason why these can't be in the game, especially if you tie it to, say, a generator, like this one, where you have to go and activate it. So you have one of these dome shields at every base, you go to a generator and you turn it on, it lasts for like 5 or so minutes and then it turns off. And that's as simple as that. Whether or not you just make it so defenders can turn it on or you make it so attackers and defenders can both turn it on is another question. I honestly would probably rather both parties be able to turn it on because there's no reason not to have this on at a base. However, as you can see, it is a perfect shape for this base with a gap in it. Now I've designed it specifically for head height, and the reason I did that is because if we lower this, you can see now it's protecting whoever sits there, which means anyone sitting down here, right, just gets farmed on from someone from safety, right? So has to be head height, and it also gives like ESFs a chance to get a few angles in, and the way that this would function, essentially, the concept would be it works like typical sky shields now. You can't shoot through it in this direction, but you can shoot out and up through it. So you can shoot through it from the other side, right? And you can also fly through it. So an ESF can, say, pick out a few targets, dive in, risk their life getting in, right, to take a few shots at whoever's down here, and then get out if they can, right? So that's the concept. It also protects from all kinds of angles up here, over here, you know, over here as well. You can see much less room for a tank or a harasser to be just firing Hail Marys into here and just aiming for like corners and stuff and hitting the odd infantry player. There's obviously still a gap here, but is so much better. And to be honest, you know, having a small gap here is not the end of the world. It's, you know, significantly better than what it is currently. Let's go on to the changes that I have made on Jaeger's Fist. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the old design versus the new design. Now, the old design had some issues. Now, this base has been redesigned multiple times. The original design was actually pretty cool. And most people who I got feedback from actually really liked the original design. So I wanted just to kind of go back to that. However, I kind of seen the vision that whoever was redesigning this base was going for. And it was basically reasonably decent spawns on each side, and you kind of fight over the middle. And it kind of makes a bit of sense. So I wanted to kind of land somewhere in between the old design and the new design. So what were the key problems with this map? Jaegerfist had an issue specifically with being locked into spawn. Now, if you come here to defend, you've got one door to exit the building. And the way that whomever was designing this base kind of tried to combat that was create this big safe zone here that you can walk out of. Now, as I was doing some research, there is actually something called, and some feedback that I got as well, actually, for this base, there is something called too much cover, right? And this is definitely a base that just has too much cover. This front entrance is doing the opposite of what it really needs to do, which is provide paths out into this field in front of it that are safe enough that they can actually push. Now, the issue is that the attackers can hold up in all kinds of different areas and just hold these basically two exits. And there's nothing that the player can do who's coming out of spawn here, even though there's still two well-covered exits here. There's nothing they can do. So they're being locked in, essentially. So how did I rectify that? Changing the spawn room is an easy one. Changing to the smaller spawn room is significantly better. One, it means that people can actually clear out the typical areas that people would hide or use and put pressure from out of a base in this direction. They've also got roof access as well. Not high roof access, because I could have given them roof access in this building, which would have solved the problem. But because I removed these smaller walls here, so they're only one high, it's just too much height advantage. So this building worked perfectly for giving more exits in a safer way. The other thing I did was remove the original two spawns, or move the original two spawns to this side of the map, over to here. So these two were the original spawn buildings back in like 2014-13, but they were just empty buildings sitting here and here, and there's no use for them here. So what I did was move them over so that the defenders can actually push out and use these buildings to actually push point. Now let's talk about the entrances into this base. Now there was actually two other entrances into this base. One here, which is honestly practically useless. It's really in a bad spot. And then one here as well. Now for balance reasons and for wanting to kind of make this resemble a bit of a scrim base, I decided just to block off these two entrances completely, as you can see. Now, what does that do? That means that there is the flow of the fight is really coming from this building, and they should meet in the middle, right? So it should feel a lot better. At least that's the theory I have in my head. Now, what did I do under here? Well, again, this is a situation where the attackers really had the advantage because they've got lots of cover here, but the attackers, when they really locked in this area, they had all of this cover here. So what did I do? I just cleared it all out. Right, we just got rid of everything. We got rid of the A point building. It was a reasonably good base back in the day. So I'm just trying to get to that kind of halfway point between the newer design and the older design. And this building, really, it takes up so much room. It takes up a lot of walking space that infantry can use. And I just want it gone. Right, so removed it. What else did I do? Well, I turned this base here 90 degrees. This building, I should say. 90 degrees, and that let me actually widen the catwalk And as you can see, the catwalk is actually significantly larger. Even, I think, compared to the older catwalk, it's not, well, it's obviously bigger than this one. But even comparing it to the older catwalk, I believe this catwalk is also bigger. However, some feedback that I got on the PlanetSide 2 Discord was that there's only 2 entrances onto this catwalk. And I actually agreed with their statement, is that it kind of becomes quite choke pointy just to get up into this building. So I added 2 rows of stairs. One set here, which is heavily favoured for the defenders, as you can tell. However, I've positioned the stairs in such a way that pushing them is extremely difficult, right? So it's easy to get to, hard to take, but that means that the population that's attacking has to spread their numbers out a little bit to actually hold this angle, and the other angles as well, because then you can push down through here and go up into, say, here if you wanted to as well. So it just spreads out the numbers a little bit. That's the kind of purpose of those stairs there. And then I've added a secondary lot of stairs here, which again is just another path up, which is for the attackers, not the defenders. Obviously the defenders can push along here through this trench and up here. However, the attackers are coming out of here and they're going to have clear line of sight of anyone trying to get up those stairs. So it's going to be hard to make it to these stairs. Probably much easier, much more plausible to make it to this entrance here and just go through this building up to here. Now, what else did I do? I extended this catwalk out a little bit, made this little square just for a little bit more kind of room, a few more angles, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And basically a point would be planted somewhere around here. Right, give or take. Now, since I removed these buildings, well, I decided to take this generator here and place it here. And I decided to move this aerial, which was where this building was, and place it here as well. Next, again, just to kind of give a little bit more cover over here if people want to use it. And then obviously I had the generator be the shield, you know, the shield thing, right? So that's kind of his main goal there. Alright, so like that's your basic kind of layout change. Now the other small things I changed was I moved this entire row of buildings here back by about 1 meter. Alright, so you can see this used to connect, it's actually a decent difference, right? So this is where it used to connect. And now you can see there's a big, you know, not a big gap, but there's a bit of a gap there. Now the reason why was just to kind of balance out how far the defenders have to walk versus how far the attackers have to walk. Because the attackers, basically, this is their primary spawn. They've got to walk quite a fair distance further compared to the defenders. The other thing I did was extended this part of a building back as well, which again let me kind of pull back the spawn a little bit more. So there's actually a little bit more room in this base compared to the older style. You can see it's a little bit more cramped, and it doesn't come out as far. So you can see this kind of comes out to here, whereas this one kind of comes out quite a bit further, as you can see. It's not too much difference, but basically this whole side and this whole side again has been pushed back slightly, again just to increase the walk time from this building to A point. Now what else did I do? I added a hand, as you can see. Jaeger's fist. I kind of got a bit bored while I was thinking of ideas, and I was like, well, I wanted to make like a memorial, something so a new player can look at this and be like, man, okay, I know that base. And what inspired me actually was J9 Impact. And I've been trying to do this with all of the reworks I've been working on, trying to add something to the base that a new player could see, and then they could recall what base it was that they were at. So they might not necessarily recall the name, but it's really be like they could be talking to someone, but oh, you know, I went to that base that has that big hand in it. I mean, everyone knows exactly what base you're talking about, right? So it's about making the bases identifiable in some way. So that's why I added this hand here. Obviously, I probably could have added something else, but you know, I just kind of mix and match these crystals together, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. I'll just make a hand, and that's what this is. Right, on the attacker's side, nothing actually changed much with this building. I left it the same. It's a pretty good layout. I do like this building quite a lot. This side here, the west side spawn, didn't change really at all. I moved the aerial from this side of the base here over to here, trying to give it more cover from vehicles that spawn out of here. But aside from that, that's not the primary spawn. So what I did instead was make a little bit of a sunder garage for the attackers. And you can see the way I've angled it, you're meant to be able to drive a bus here and you plant it here. Now, if a vehicle wants to blow it up, they have to get up in its face over here, right? So that's the purpose of like having this kind of a few meter distance away from wall here, so that there's no angles on the bus inside of that garage. That would be the idea. And if it didn't work because there was an angle on it, then I would come back and iterate and lower this a little bit, right? So that it wasn't possible. Right, that aside, yeah, so that's what this is designed for. Is designed to basically put a bus in there, and it's an easy way out. I've moved some of these rocks around to try and give infantry cover to get into this building from this door, so we don't have too much exposure. The only other thing I can think of that I've actually worked on here is these buildings here. I've purposely blocked up these windows, and that is to stop attackers from using them aggressively to hold the spawn locked in. So you can see I've blocked these windows up here. Obviously someone can still hold here, right, but it's a riskier angle, okay? And someone can hold here if they want, but again, it's still a risky angle. Someone can just nail this out and push it out that way. And if someone's, you know, sneaky enough, they can push around this side and clear them out with this window. So you can see I've left these windows on the side open. Again, it's so that the defenders have the advantage when they push up through these bases. One thing I'd mention is I would really, really like terrain cover. So natural terrain cover. And what I mean is this little valley here. This is such like a good way to add in cover, and there's almost no bases that utilize this. Having like natural terrain, a good like vehicle map, like Indar for example, typically has these like grooves and these little valleys that you can bring your tank into, and you can use the valleys and these little mountains, little hills as cover to shoot over, you know, at an opposing tank. And that's what kind of makes a good vehicle map, and they really should implement it into like typical bases, because this, like just this little valley here, this is great. Like being able to push here, you've got a little bit of natural cover pushing. These should be to scale as well, but you've got a little bit of natural cover pushing, and that's you know, that's how it is. So overall quite cool. Overall I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Give me some feedback, let me know what you think, let me know if you want me to make some changes, or if there's something that you kind of can see a flaw with the way I'm thinking. I mean, maybe I'm not thinking everything through properly, and there's a lot to think about when it comes to Planetside, so I've definitely missed something, that's for sure. However, thanks for watching, hopefully this has been informative, and yeah, again, I'm going to keep on making these just because I enjoy doing it. Anyway, peace out.